Hey guys, so today I was going to film a full review on an entire collection. I don't want to. Some days I feel like there are collections that launch and I know this is my job and I know that I have kind of like a responsibility to keep up on the collections, but sometimes you ever just go to work and you're like, I have all this stuff to do, but I just frankly don't want to do it, and then you just don't do it. That's me today. I am going to do a Get Ready With Me. I'm going to do another one. I know I just recently uploaded another Get Ready With Me and they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I just want to put makeup on without caring about new collections. Sometimes I just want to use the shit I already have. God damn. By the way, I'm using the MAC Strobe Cream. I normally don't use like a primer, but I want to be glowy today. Look at this. Look at these little fuckers. Decided to show up uninvited, stay for probably over a week, and then leave a scar because they hate me. It's about to be that time of the month. I can tell. I'm not surprised that they're here. I get hormonal breakouts on my chin whenever it's going to be that time of the month. So I self-tanned. You guys know I did a video where I talked about like my self-tanner in my favorites video. And I self-tanned my body and it's still nice and bronze. Everything's good. It's been over a week. Well, I've been washing my face every day and like exfoliating with my Clarisonic down my neck. So you can see where I've exfoliated all the skin off. So we're gonna bring whatever we do all the way down my neck today. This is the Pure Cosmetics 4-in-1 foundation stick. It looks like I'm using a lot. Well, because I kind of am. But yeah, the response on that video was great. I'm literally so pleasantly surprised. I was a little nervous to upload it because anytime you upload anything a little more negative, people have a lot of things to say, and rightfully so. But I am so glad you guys listened to what I had to say regarding people's makeup choices and just what they want to do with their lives, especially if they're not hurting anybody. And I really appreciate your guys' comments on that. It was really nice. And I had a lot of comments of people saying, how do you stop caring? And I want to clarify, I care about a lot of things in this world. Some things I care too much about. But what I don't care about is other people's opinion on my life, specifically if I'm not hurting anybody. But yeah, one of the big comments that I got on that video was like, I care so much what people think about me. How do I stop caring? And I think that's something I wanted to talk about in this Get Ready With Me, because a big part of society and who we are as people, it's very normal to care what other people think about you. I don't think that that makes you weird or wrong in any way. I feel like the majority of us, and it's just part of who we are, we care what other people think. And I don't know why we do. I think it's just part of being a human being. You just automatically want the acceptance of others and you want to feel like you fit in and you don't want to feel like an outsider or an outcast, specifically if other people make you feel that way when you are a little bit different than them. And I don't ever want to make it seem like I'm some non-caring person, because as much as I don't care what people think about me, I equally care. I strive to make it a point that I put things into perspective. So I've talked about this on my channel before. This isn't new. I have talked about perspective of life and generally what I do. And I don't know, I think it's because I've had a lot of my family members pass away and I realize the fragility of life. Life is very fragile. And even though people tell you this, you listening to this right now, if you haven't personally experienced it, it's hard to understand just how fragile life really is. And so I consistently remind myself of what's important. This was literally supposed to be like the most natural makeup and now it's turned so full coverage. And I think I feel like this is the case, but there's a part in all of us that cares what people think about us. It's just human nature. But there's also a part in all of us, I think, I'm not trying to speak for everyone, but just saying, that wants to not care. Well, a lot of people are like, how do you not care? I do still, but I make it a point to remember and to consistently tell myself, and this is where we go back to life is fragile. I make it a point to tell myself when I start to get too in my head about things or I start to care too much about frivolous nonsense. Because when you really think about it, it's frivolous nonsense. I mean, you can care about whatever you care about, but sometimes I like care way too much about dumb shit. So how do you get out of that mindset? How do you stop caring what people think about you? Or how do you just be your most authentic self? I think the way that I do it, and all I can do is give you my opinion and my perspective. Most people, and I say most because this isn't the case for everyone, they're not interested in what you're doing with your life. Now, they may project that on you with like shitty comments online or something like that. But I must tell you, and you have to remember this, and this is something that I told myself recently. So I had some girl come in for me on Twitter. This is all going to loop back, so just there is a point to this story. I had a girl on Twitter, and she was coming at me for something that was completely untrue, really, really hurtful, and very, very rude. And she was very shitty to me. And I had valid explanations for what she was coming for me for. And I was coming back at her with facts. I was coming back at her with screenshots. I was trying to explain myself to her. And after about an hour or so, maybe even 2 hours, of this back and forth bullshit, just trying to explain my side and trying to get my point across and have her understand that I'm not the bad person that she thinks I am. By the way, this is like over YouTube. Like, she just had something to say to me about it. I was trying to let her know, like, I'm not this bad person that you think I am. And here's proof of why you think what you're saying is wrong. And it didn't matter the amount of proof I had for her. It didn't matter how good of a person I am. It didn't matter what I had to say or how much arguing I did or how much facts I throw her way and how much I 100% proved my point. Because she wasn't looking to be proved wrong. She had her ideas about me, and she set in that. You don't need to worry. That's when I realized. You don't need to be concerned about other people's opinions of you. That's not your problem. And I said this on Twitter, and ever since I said this to myself, it's changed my life. I don't listen to rude comments online anymore. It's still hard, and they still affect me sometimes, but it just is what it is. You know, I'm a work in progress. Nobody's perfect. Every day we learn. And anyone that thinks that that's not true is frankly wrong. And I would beg you to look back on yourself years ago and see who you were and see if you haven't changed at all. People change, and it's just part of growing up. Every year we learn. Every day we learn. I learned something new yesterday that I didn't know from the day before. And it's part of life, and I think that's awesome. What this gal thought about me on Twitter, and this natural face of makeup has turned completely sideways. What she thought about me and what she said, and all the opinions she had about me, didn't matter what was true, what I had to say about that. That was her opinion, and it has nothing to do with me. That's my point. It had nothing to do with me. She feels that way, and I would imagine, I want to go back to my past self, and I'm going to admit full fault here. I was a miserable early 20s something. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I was so happy and so carefree and so lighthearted. I just thought, oh, you're fine. Everyone else is stupid. I look back on it now and I go, oh, you were so miserable and you were taking it out on everybody else. I look back at my old Facebook statuses. I've talked about this a few times on Twitter in the last couple weeks because it was a huge eye-opening experience for me. I don't ever go on Facebook. Facebook is something I just disregard completely. It's not something that I care about whatsoever. But I got a lot of reminders that like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago even, it would be like, here's what you said 5 years ago. And I was looking at these Facebook statuses and I was like sick to my stomach. I was like, holy shit. I was the most judgmental. I was so rude. I was being so judgmental to people. Like I would be like, ew, if you do this, you're a freak. You're a loser. Ew, I can't believe this person did this. If you do this, block me from your life. I was honestly so hateful. Everything I said, so hateful. Not a single status update. And I'm saying this with truth. If you went back and looked at my statuses, not a single one wasn't a complaint, wasn't rude, wasn't bashing somebody else, every single one. And I would always say, why don't people want to be my friend? What's with this? And it was from a negative standpoint. And I couldn't understand why nobody wanted to be around me. Nobody wanted to be around you because you were so fucking negative. And look back at that and I go, wow, I was so unhappy in my life. I was so miserable. I was dealing with the death of my mom a few years prior. I was going through the thickest, worst part of infertility. If you guys didn't know, if you're new here, I tried to get pregnant for 5 years, couldn't get pregnant. I was going through massive infertility treatments. I was going to see a reproductive endocrinologist. Like I was going through a lot. But to me, that was just like, that's life. And I didn't realize how miserable I am until I look back on that now. I was dealing with massive financial struggles. Like we were so broke. I mean, so broke. You couldn't have convinced me that I was being negative because I was miserable. Because in my life, I didn't feel miserable. And I was saying, you know, I'm fine. My life's good. I love my husband. Everything's fine. We live in a cute little house. But internally, without even noticing, I was honestly just like the most negative ass bitch that exists on the face of this planet. And things have 180'd. I still have negative thoughts because I'm a human being, for crying out loud. But I don't live my life in that negative space. But when I did, I was such a bitch to people. Like, without even realizing I was a bitch. I didn't even notice that I was. I just thought I was being so real. And I wasn't being real. I was being who I was in that moment. That's who I really was. I was taking it out on other people because I was unhappy. And that is, I really do fully and wholeheartedly believe that if you are happy in your life and you're content and you're satisfied, you won't be a dick to other people generally. You really won't. You treat people how you feel inside. And so that was me. I treated people the way I felt. And the way I felt was, I want you to be miserable because I'm miserable. Misery loves company, and that is a fact. I look back on all of that and I realize that I'm a 180 person from who I used to be. I mean when I say I'm 180. I am not the same person as I used to be. When I discovered that I can be happy without children, when I started to figure out who I am as a person and stop putting so much pressure on myself regarding the infertility and everything like that, when I stopped being so miserable in my life and finding my happiness and not judging other people and not paying attention to what other people do in their life, I became a much more grounded, happy, carefree person. And when I did that, I started being nicer to other people. And when I did that, I realized that you can be happy. You don't have to project your nonsense onto other people. Like, the reason people didn't want to hang out with me is because I was too negative. I was mean all the time. I was hateful. I was shitting over people who were just doing good things too. Like, I'd be like, ugh. People who listen to country music really loud. Ugh. People who do, and I would always be saying something negative about somebody else's choices or what they wanted to do in their lives or etc. Like, that was my life. I was just literally miserable, and so I treated everybody else miserably. When I stopped doing that, I went back and I said, okay, I figured out my life. I got my shit together, and I started to do some self-reflection, and I started to really be aware of how I portray myself, how I speak to other people, and I started being more mindful and self-aware. I feel like if you know who you are, other people can't really get to you. Like, I know I can be a little bit abrasive. I know I can be a little bit irritating. I also know that I'm a nice person, and I know that I try to help people, and I know things about myself that other people can't knock my character because I know my character. And so I know who I am. And I know what I want to be to people. That's when you can quit caring. You go, look, what that lady over there thinks about me, what she thinks I look like, or what she has to say about me is irrelevant, because I'm not those things just because you think those things. Like, some people on the internet hate me. And I'm not talking like a little bit hate me. I'm talking like some people out there loathe my being. And that is their opinion, that is their right. And as long as I don't give that any sort of leg to stand on, like, I can't change the way that some people are going to think about me. They're just going to feel the way that they feel. And that is their right, and that's fine. That has nothing to do with me. Maybe this is a broken record at this point. But people are going to feel about you how they feel about you. It's just life. Like, you can't make everybody like you. And there are 7 billion people in this world. And most people are selfish people, and they care about themselves, and they are worried about what everyone else is thinking about them. So if everyone else is worried what everyone else is thinking about them, that means they're really not really worried about you. I think that's why I really like Amelia Fart so much, because she admits that she's very self-conscious, but she doesn't allow that self-conscious side of her to take hold. She acknowledges that she has a part of her that cares, and she also acknowledges that it's dumb to care. And I think that that's what's really cool, and that's why I really like Amelia Fart, and that's why she's a huge inspiration to me on how to quit caring. Because you can still care, but don't let that part of your life, like, take over. Don't dampen who you are because of what seemingly we are supposed to be like. I don't like to cry. It's a fact about me that my whole family knows this. Everyone in my life knows this. I don't like to cry. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like being sad. I don't think anyone likes being sad. But sometimes people, sometimes you need a good cry. And I feel that sometimes I have to watch sad things just a little bit here and there to bring myself back to reality. And I don't mean like, I'm not watching like horrific things or anything, but I will at times need to be brought back down to remember how important life is. And I think that that's really something that we lose on the day-to-day when like our mundane weird life tasks come in, and you worry about the stuff that, when in reality, I mean this when I say it doesn't matter, and I say it doesn't matter not because life things aren't valid, but if you look at the importance of what's really, really important, like our lives are number one. And so the other day I was watching, this was yesterday, I was watching Claire, and it has cystic fibrosis, and I will link the video. I'll try to link it up here. She has cystic fibrosis, and I'm not saying this, she says this, she's dying. She has about a year left to live, is what the doctors tell her. And watching this girl's zest for life, but her lack of fear surrounding death, it's so amazing. And I cried my eyes out watching her little documentary thing that she did, because it makes me appreciate this life that we have. Like, I hardly have any family left. A lot of my family members have passed away, and my mom died when I was 16. And when she did, I realized death is a very, very permanent thing. We're all going to die. And it's not something that you can avoid. Death is something that we all have to face one day. We don't know when that's gonna be. And I think when you hear that, you don't just hear it, but you feel it. And this isn't a fear tactic. This isn't saying like, you're gonna die, so, you can never care what people think about you again. That's not what this is about. What this is about is to say that if you spend your whole life worrying, you spend your whole life wasting time on the opinions of people that are also gonna die someday. People that at the end of your life, in those moments, aren't gonna be there holding your hand. Those people who their opinion of you couldn't matter any less. It really couldn't, because who gives a shit about an opinion? I don't put stock in other people's opinions, because those aren't the people that are there for me every day. Those things are valid, but don't give them weight in your life. And I'm not trying to tell you how to think or how to feel. I'm trying to tell you how I think and how I feel. And maybe my perspective or other people's perspectives that they've given me over the years, and how things have changed, can maybe make you feel a little bit better about your thought process. And I don't have a good outfit for prom, or my family doesn't treat me very well. Like, those are valid problems, and other problems can be valid even if they're not like life-ending issues. But to give them their moment, and to realize that we have control over how we let other people's opinions of us define us. Everything I do is a little bit of a judgment, and that's fine. That's what I'm putting out in the world. You can watch me, and you can feel some kind of way about me. And again, I can't sit here and worry about the opinions of 380,000 people. I can't worry about it. Their thought about who I am doesn't make me that thing. This isn't for people that are going through massive struggles that I can't personally understand. That's not what this is about. That's not to invalidate your feelings towards your life. It's to say, if you find yourself being overly critical of yourself because of the opinions of others, what you need to do is step back. Don't listen to their words, because their words are just words. I get it. Some things can hurt. I'm told every single day bad things about myself. I'm on this platform. People call me names that you wouldn't imagine other people being able to say. But I remember in school, I've talked about this before in the past too, and I remember in school, and there was this kid, and he really, really bullied the shit out of me. He would say really horrible things to me. He would call me names that I still remember to this day, word for word. I remember where I was standing when he said them. I remember what he looked like. I remember how I felt after he said them. I found out later that he was abused his entire childhood, and he had a really bad home life. And I didn't know that at the time. When you're a kid and you're being bullied by somebody else, you don't think about what they're going through. You think about what they're putting you through. And I'm not excusing his behavior, but to say he was going through something that I didn't personally understand at that time. He was taking it out on me because he had a really shitty home life, and then I was upset by it. So it's this endless cycle. And we have to break the cycle. Don't let somebody else's words define who you are as a person. Be your authentic self. When you walk outside, don't sit there. If you find your mind going to places like, what does he think about? He's not looking at you that way. And if he is, that's his problem. Because if he's going to say something to you, or if she's going to say something to you, if somebody walks up to you and you're like, bitch, they're not mad at you. They don't actually think you're a bitch, likely. There's something going on there. They're angry, they're upset. And I remember every time I would hear like the excuse of like, they're going through something, you don't know what somebody else is going through. I'd be like, I don't give a shit what somebody else is going through. Don't be a dick. And I still agree with that. But remember that if some other person walks up to you and says something, or if somebody shouts something at you across the street, or if you're driving and somebody's like, fat bitch, or if somebody says ugly or cow, that isn't because they think you're a cow or because they think you're an ugly fat bitch. That's not what's happening here. What they actually are feeling is, I'm angry and I need to take it out on somebody to feel more significant. There's somebody walking down the street, I'm gonna make them feel real bad, because when they feel bad, it makes me feel powerful. I was watching this episode of Chef's Table, and one of the chefs was a guy who was very angry. He's an asshole. He's mean still to his like sous chefs and demi chefs and all those people that are in his kitchen. He still yells profanities and things like that, but he admitted his dad beat the shit out of him growing up, and he then in turn would go beat up random people because it would make him feel better to hurt other people the way he was being hurt. And that's really sad, and it's something that if you haven't gone through it, like, none of us can understand. Being a child and being hurt, it like sickens me to my core, and it's so unfair. And anyone that hurts a child, like, you are evil. You are an evil person. If somebody's being evil to you and someone's being hurtful to you and you're an adult and you can make your own decisions, or you feel really worried about what other people are thinking about you, or you feel really self-conscious, you have to think of why you're self-conscious. Did somebody speak those evils into you when you were a kid? Did somebody tell you that you were fat? It was my grandpa, actually, and he poked my stomach and he was like, wow, you're getting fat. He would have never even thought a second about that, because I'm just a little kid. Oh, you're getting chubby. And to him, that was like funny, because he was like, you're getting big, is basically what he was trying to say. I then was concerned about my weight for the rest of my teenage years because of that one comment my grandpa made. So this is not just also something to say, don't worry about what other people think about you. This is also to say, worry about your words when you speak to other people. Something that you say that you don't even think another second about may affect somebody else for the rest of their life. And that it shouldn't, because we honestly shouldn't put that much stock into other people's words, but I think it's human nature for us just to care what people think about us. But I used to get really upset when people thought things about me. And it's still a learning process. I still sometimes get upset by things people say, but it takes those real life experiences, like Claire's situation, like my mom's passing, like things that have happened that are bigger than words from a stranger, to bring me back down to reality and go, none of that matters. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm in my house, I'm with my family, I'm doing my thing, I'm happy, and I'm not gonna let the opinion of some rando stranger or somebody who feels that they want to belittle me in any situation, who's unhappy in their own life, make me unhappy in mine. And that is the fact of the matter. I was that miserable person. I was making people feel really awful about themselves online. I was losing friends left and right. I was unhappy in my life, and I didn't even know I wasn't happy. So you could say to somebody who's being shitty to you online, you're miserable, you're making me miserable. And they might be like, I'm not miserable, I'm fucking happy. I said the same thing too back in the day, and I wasn't happy. And now I can look back and go, you weren't happy. And I didn't even notice it. Like, I just thought, if you don't like it, fuck you. I was very controversial. And now that I look back, I go, there was nothing I was bringing to the table other than making people feel bad. And I cringe when I look back on those old statuses. I don't even know who I was. I can't even recognize that person that I was. That was me, though. That's in me. That person was who I was. I can't even believe that. I honestly can't even look back at that and remember that that's who I was. It was a part of me, and it shaped me into the person that I am today, and so it's fine. But know that bringing this all back to caring about what other people think about you, just live your best life. Wear what you want to wear. Do what you want to do. And when you start to find those thoughts creeping into your mind of like, what are they thinking about me? What are they saying about me? It doesn't matter what they're saying about you. I used to read gossip websites talking shit about me. Never will I let that nonsensical evil grace my mind again. It doesn't matter what these websites say about me. They're not people who can be reasoned with. If they think those things about me, they're going to think them regardless if I have a million rebuttals about who I am, what kind of person I am, what I do for my family, what I don't do for my family. It doesn't matter, because they want to hate me, because they have something that they need to feel validated by, and they find another group of hateful people and they go sit with those hateful people and they say their hateful thoughts, and if that makes them feel that validated, fine. One day they're gonna look back on the shit that they've said, though, and they're gonna feel ashamed. And that's fine. It's part of growing, and it's part of like I went through, being a person and then being a different person later on in the road. And I look back on the things I said and I cringe really hard. And I think a lot of people who say shitty things online too, as you grow and you learn and you change, a lot of times you look back on the person that you were and you're like, who is that bitch? I don't know her. When I used to put so much stock into what other people thought, like even as a creator, even like 6 months or to a year ago, I would read websites and I would read people's critique of me and I would read their opinions and I'd be like, wow, God, okay, I need to do this, and that. No, you don't. Do what you're gonna do. I don't need to listen to what you have to say. Constructive criticism, like, hey, your lighting was a little messed up in your last video, maybe turn it a little more to the left. That's valid. I understand that. Hey, your highlight was actually a little ashy in that one video. It looked like it was a little gray toned. Maybe you might want to go with a more golden toned highlight next time. I think that would really bring out your features. Instead of, ew, that highlight looked like shit, go die. Not really constructive. If they're not constructive, they're not helpful to me. And I'll listen to constructive criticism, certainly. You get one life, you get to live here on this earth for a finite amount of time. You don't know how long that's going to be. And one of my friends recently passed away, and he was a very healthy young man. And I'm talking very healthy, way healthier than me. No health issues seemingly. Everything was good. He was good to go. He was a chef. He was engaged to be married to a beautiful woman. He was 30 years old. He suddenly passed away of leukemia, and he didn't know until it was too late. And he was so healthy and so in love and a wonderful human being. And to go through all of that, it really made me realize every day, I know everyone says this and it gets old and you don't want to hear it because everyone's always saying it and we hear it, live every day like it's your last. But would you want to spend your last day on earth worrying about what other people thought of you? Would you want to spend your last day being self-conscious or feeling shitty about yourself or worrying about everything? No, you'd want to spend it like with love and surrounded by people that you love and not caring about what other people think about you and just like throwing your hair down and just living your life. That's how you spend your last day. And almost everyone has a different answer to how they would spend their last moments, but it certainly isn't stressing about what other people think about you. That's how I quit caring. Am I perfect? No. Some days do I care what other people think about me? Yes. And sometimes it's really bad to the point where I have to slap myself and be like, bigger picture. And when I do create that larger picture in my mind and I bring myself down is when I go, doesn't matter. Sometimes I think, oh, I can't upload that footage. I look fat. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how fat I look. That's who I am. That's what my body looks like today. That other people's bodies look the same way. It doesn't matter if my belly hangs a little bit more over my pants than somebody else's belly hangs over their pants. That doesn't define them. They have a flat stomach. I have a not flat stomach. Who gives a fuck? And I think that is how I don't care. And I don't know if this video is helpful at all. I don't know if it's something that you watch and a light bulb goes off, or if you're like, this is information I've heard 100,000 times. Thanks, Kristi. Thanks, no thanks. But if you did hear this and take something from it, I'm glad. And that's why I make these videos, because at the end of the day, makeup is really fun. I love it so much. I love putting makeup on. I love reviewing products. I love talking about eyeshadow. I love trying new foundations and seeing the way that I can change my face based on things or make myself look how I want to look or not have any makeup on at all. But I think there is a larger purpose for having a platform to speak to people. And for me, I don't think I'm the best public speaker in the world, but I think I'm fine at it. And I think that sometimes people need to hear different opinions from different styles of people. There are some people I hear talk and I'm like, you're not reaching me at all. Some people I hear talk and they reach me so deeply that I cry when I hear them speak, like Claire or Amelia. I feel their thoughts on a deeper level because I relate so much to them. And I think that maybe somebody would relate to me too. And so if you are one of those people, I hope this video was helpful for you. And I hope that it helped you to be mindful of your thoughts. And if things start creeping in and you start getting overwhelmed or anxious or you feel like people are really judging, let it go. Think about the bigger picture and just take a sigh of relief that you feel confident in who you are and just trying to better yourself every day. It can never hurt to be a good person. And I think more people could stand to hear things like that. And I think that it's just something we have to work on every day. And every day I work on myself, and same to you. You just need to work on yourself and be self-aware. Let the feelings be valid, but just kick them out right away. I don't mean to invalidate anyone's feelings. And sometimes on videos like this, when I say just don't care, people are like, easier said than done. And I'm like, I know, easier said than done. It doesn't mean that you can't try though. The longer you practice, the better you become. And so if you practice not giving a shit, eventually you won't. Remembering that life, man, it's worth living, not about worth worrying about. So that's going to be the end of this video. I appreciate you guys so much, and I thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. Also, you guys can follow me on all my other social media stuff. And I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you at my next video. Bye!